Mom wants to defend my sister after stealing money from me and wants to punish me by sending me to military school. This happened when I was 14, it was roughly a year give or take before my parents divorced. My younger sister was always spending her allowance like it was water, especially on makeup, mall food, video games, and clothes from Hot Topic. While I had an allowance too, my dad had me earn it more by cleaning house and doing yard work because my sister never lifted a finger unless dad was there to supervise her. And my mother never made her do any chores either unless it was to clean her room. To get some extra cash I mowed lawns, picked up discarded cans around the neighborhoods to cash in for the 5-cent deposit, and did some other odd jobs around the neighborhood. At the time I was saving to buy a scooter to get around town on. Over the course of 2 years doing odd jobs and hoarding most of my allowance, I managed to save about $2,000, but getting that money built up was not easy. Mainly because of my sister, she knew all the little hiding places I used to hide my stash of money, and would steal from it. Here's a highlight that's paraphrased from what I remember. Me, hey sis, did you take my money again? Sis, what? And no, she used to stutter when caught in a lie. Me, you're a terrible liar. There's $100 missing from my savings. Sis, leave me alone, I didn't do it. Starts fake crying and runs to mom. Sis, mommy, bro is picking on me. Me, she stole from my savings again. Mom, starts snapping her fingers at me. Shut up, can't you see mama's little girl is upset? She said she didn't do it, so she didn't do it, and that's all there is to it. So if you don't let this go, I'll ground you. Me, I know she did it, and if you don't get the money back, I'll get dad's help. Mom, now there's no need for that. Besides, you don't have any proof she took your money. Me, yes I do. I keep a ledger for each and every dollar I add to it. The total 3 days ago was XXXX, now there's only XYYY, $100 is missing. And you know she's stolen from my savings several times already, plus I know sis already spent all of her allowance this month, yet you took her out shopping yesterday. Where'd she get that money from? Huh mom, thinks for a second then scowls. You know what? You are grounded, go to your room or I'm gonna get the belt. I could have argued the issue further, but if there's one thing I learned in that household, it was when to stop talking and just call my father. So without another word to either of them I walked to my room and slammed the door. Then I pulled out my little brick Nokia cell phone that I had back then and dialed my dad at work. He didn't pick up so I left a message explaining everything. Then he called me back about an hour later and said he'd sorted out. Not long after I heard the landline house phone ringing, followed by my mom yelling at dad over the phone in the kitchen. I didn't catch much trying to listen from my room other than mom trying to justify her actions. But that never worked when she was in the wrong, so she ended up yelling out something to the likes of fine, if she really took the money then you can pay it back, because she already spent it. Then my mother threw open my door to scream at me, I can't believe you ratted me out you little ingrate, after all I do for you, you couldn't just let a little money slide. Me, so you admit that my sister took it then? Mom, sneers, you know what, I don't care, girls need more money than boys, you should just be giving it to her anyway, it wasn't even that much. Me, it wasn't just a little money and you know it, she stole a $100, and even if it was only $1, I'd still want it back. You wouldn't want someone stealing from your purse, it's no different if sis steals from me, she's guilty and you know it. And I want that money returned one way or another, I worked hard for it and she did nothing. Mom, my baby doesn't have to do anything, SHE is a princess, and deserves to be treated like one. Me, that isn't my problem, she can go be a princess away from me and away from my stuff. Mom, that's it you little shit, I'm gonna beat your ass. Me, standing up and facing her eye to eye as I was already as tall as her at 14 and decently strong from all the outdoor work I was doing. Go ahead and try it, I won't let you, because I didn't do anything wrong. My mother froze in place for a moment, then let out a loud ruahh, and swung her arm to try and knock something off my dresser, but she swung too low and hit the dresser itself, which I imagine really hurt. She grabbed her hand to try and hold in the pain, and was giving me a furious look while gnashing her teeth, then she just turned around and walked out. I heard her make a ruckus yelling and smacking the wall as she went down the hall, down the stairs and to the kitchen to just do her usual when she didn't get her way, which was to go to her wine fridge and proceed to get drunk. My sister was watching me from her bedroom door, and she looked at me horrified before fleeing back inside her room and slamming the door. Mom was her ace in the hole for getting away with the stuff she did to me, and that was quickly changing. A few hours later, my dad came home from work and marched my sister into my room to come and see me. He'd made her admit to stealing from me, and then told me I was not grounded. Sis refused to even look at me the entire time she was being made to apologize, and she did so in the most quiet and squeaky voice at first, till my dad repeatedly told her to speak up till she was practically yelling it. Then Dad gave me a $100 bill to make up for what my sister took and said she was grounded for a week and the stolen money would come out of her allowance, to which she started bawling and calling Dad awful before running off to her room. My mom just sat at the back patio getting drunk with her favorite wine and ignoring all of us. She never apologized to me, and even at times acted like the whole situation never happened. Also, my sister still got her next allowance anyway, only it was my mom who gave it to her instead of my dad that time. A few days later, on my dad's day off from work, we went to a local store and he bought me a combination safe to keep my money and other small valuables in. We didn't tell either my mother or sister I had it. It was set for a 4-digit code. If I remember, the code I used back then was 4962. I put all of my money into the safe and locked it, then put it in the back of my closet. A few weeks went by and one day after I'd gotten back from mowing a few neighbor lawns, I found my room had been ransacked. I called my mother to tell her what sis did to my room. Mom of course denied it. Mom, my baby didn't do this. Me, well then did you? Mom, no. Me, well it could only have been one of you as this room was clean when I left and no one else was here. Mom, visibly annoyed at being caught by logic. Fine, but if she did do it then so what? You had it coming by not being nicer to her anyway. Then stormed off. I called my dad again and left another message on his work answering machine about what happened. Then I went to my sister's room and told her I knew she was the one who tore up my room. And before she could even try to answer me, I stated she couldn't get to my money anymore because I'd locked it away in a safe. That made her throw an absolute tantrum, and of course evil Mama Bear came running to her rescue. But I just repeated that sis couldn't get at my money anymore and went back to my room to clean it up while my sister kept screaming in her room for like the next 20 minutes. Nothing was really missing or broken, just thrown and scattered around. I picked everything up and put it back the way it was. Admittedly, it was the smuggest I'd ever felt cleaning my room, but the next day I found it tore up again, and this time my window was broken as well. Sis had hurled the safe out the window because she couldn't get it open. I called my father right away, and when both my parents got home from work, my sister fully admitted to having done it like she was proud of herself. My mother actually tried to side with her by saying I shouldn't have gotten the safe in the first place, but my dad chewed her out and said he got it for me because he was sick and tired of my sister stealing from me. Every time she stole money from me and spent it, my dad had to reimburse me since my mom never would. We had to have the whole window from my room replaced. And my dad got me a lock for my door, and even a combination key lock box that contained the key to my room next to the door. My sister ended up grounded for a month for breaking my window, and she spent that whole time just sulking in her room whenever Dad was home. Mom always let her go back to doing what she wanted, like playing video games or watching TV and stuff, till my dad got off work. I didn't bother to say anything because I knew if I did, both my sister and my mom would have gone out of their way to make me more miserable. After her month-long grounding was over, my sister resorted to begging me for money every time she spent all of her allowance. But I just called her out that she'd never pay it back because she never saves anything, and just to be funny I drew up an IOU to see if she'd actually sign it in front of Dad later. She tore the paper in half and went crying to Mom again about how I was being mean to her, and Mom would try to make me cough up the money for her, but I just reminded her what Dad would do, so if my sister wanted any more cash, it wasn't gonna come from me. After this, my mom actually tried to get me sent to military school, but Dad didn't let her. Also, for those wondering why my dad just didn't help me get a savings account back then, I really don't know. I guess saving it in cash was just how we did things. Update: shortly after my dad gave me a safe for my money, he also got me a deadbolt lock for my door with a wall-mounted lockbox that required a code to get the key because my sister threw my safe through my bedroom window. We installed the lock and lockbox together while my mom and sister weren't home. When my sister first walked by my room after coming back, I saw her look at the lock, and then go running to get Mom. They both came storming up the stairs to be greeted by my dad and I. The following is paraphrased from what I remember. Mom snaps her fingers a few times and points. What the hell is that? Dad: a door lock. Mom: I know what the fuck it is. Why is it there? Dad, because you never see fit to punish or stop our daughter for stealing from Krogel or ransacking his room, so from now on the lock stays. Mom, he's only 14, and this is my house, he can't have a lock on the door. Dad, no, this is our house, but last I checked I paid most of the mortgage and the bills, you hardly pay anything. And I'm tired of you favoring daughter so much that Krogel keeps having to suffer for it. Mom, well then I demand you tell me the code for the lockbox at least. Dad, deadpan stare, I'm not doing that, because you've shown I can't trust you anymore. Mom then blew her top and stormed down the stairs. My sister just stood there looking pouty and then slowly walked to her room. Things were good with the new lock, and it became habitual for me to lock it every time I left my bedroom. I saw my sister and mother staring at me on numerous occasions when I input the code to get the key, but I always made sure to use my hand or my body to block their line of sight. They really didn't like that, but there wasn't anything they could do about it. Then one day late in the month my sister came begging me for $40 to buy a video game she really wanted. Me, why do you keep coming to me to ask for money when you and I both know you'll never pay it back? Sis, I'll pay it back, I swear. Me, no, you won't. You spend everything you have and then some each month. And you know you'd want to just spend all of your allowance rather than pay me back. It's what you always do, sis. And no, I don't. Me, well then, how about we test that? I then went into my room and got a piece of paper and pen, and then hand-wrote an IOU contract that stated sis would pay me back the $40 upon getting her monthly allowance, and the IOU was to be co-signed by Dad as a witness. Always have a witness for contracts, folks. Sis read the paper, then started sniffling. She tore it in half and then ran crying to Mom yet again. It was what she did every single time she didn't get her way. Sis blew me, sobbing, Mom, what is this, my little princess? What did Krogel do now? Me, she wanted to borrow money, so I asked her to sign an IOU in front of Dad. Then she freaked out. Mom, and why would you do that? She just wanted to borrow a little money. Me, would you sign the IOU as well to make sure she pays the money back? Mom, you little shit, I don't have to sign anything, now just loan her the money. Me, not without a signed IOU. Mom stands up with her arm out like she's ready to hit me, then retracts it. You're just like your father, you have to have a paper trail for everything. I hate it. Me starts walking up the stairs to my room. At this point, Mom, I'd say it's a good thing I'm just like Dad, because it's far better than being just like you, like sis is, because you never do anything good. Mom, what was that, you little shit? Start storming up the stairs just as I got into my bedroom door and locked it. Now my mom had a habit of throwing open my bedroom door to yell at me. Back then, she did one sweeping motion of opening the door while lunging her body forward, and at this time I'd only had the lock on my door for a little while. So she wasn't used to it yet. I'd locked the deadbolt, and she tried to throw open my door and slammed right into it with a pretty loud thud, and then I heard her fall onto the floor and start making noises of crying in pain. She'd slammed her body and face against the door pretty hard. It was an old-fashioned style door made of solid wood, and it gave her a fat lip and a bump on the forehead. I opened the door and she was sprawled out and pounding her fists on the floor. Mom, you did this to me, you little shit. Me, you did it to yourself. Mom, you are grounded, get out of my sight. After that I called Dad and he just groaned over the phone about the whole situation. He said I wasn't grounded, but I was still in big trouble for goading her, and to just let him deal with her when he got home. I ended up getting a stern lecture from Dad along with added chores and a reduction to my allowance that month, but that was about it. After that day, every time sis asked me for money, I asked her to sign an IOU. She really didn't like that,